A few months ago, a team of researchers at Anthropic ran an experiment. They took 52 software developers, they split them into two groups, and they gave them all the same task: learn a new coding library from scratch. One group got full access to AI assistance, the other had to figure it out by hand. The group using AI finished slightly faster, about 2 minutes faster, on a 40-minute task, barely noticeable, and the time saving was not enough to reach statistical significance. But when they tested both groups afterwards on whether they actually understood what they'd just built, the AI group scored 17% lower. The tools designed to make developers faster at their jobs were actually making them measurably worse. So if AI is appearing to make your teams dumber, not smarter, but AI does ultimately make us more efficient, and rollout is of course inevitable, what can we do about it? There's a term researchers have started using for what's happening across the corporate world right now. They're calling it AI brain fry. It's the mental fog, the decision fatigue, the slow creeping sense that you're overseeing so many AI tools that you've actually stopped thinking. A study of nearly 1,500 workers published in the Harvard Business Review found that 14% of the workforce is already experiencing this, and those affected are making 39% more major errors at work. As 39% more major errors from the tools that were supposed to eliminate errors. So today I want to do three things. First, I want to show you exactly how we got here, the treadmill that's burning out your best people. Second, I want to explain why 95% of enterprise AI projects are failing, and why the answer has nothing to do with the AI itself. And third, I want to give you a framework, 4 principles that the smartest engineering organizations are using instead to combat AI brain fog. Let me describe how I imagine you're feeling as a CEO or a CTO right now. GPT 5.4 just landed with Excel access. Microsoft Copilot got another upgrade. Google shipped Gemini 3.1. OpenAI released a standalone coding app and it hits 2 million weekly users within days. And if you're a long-time sub of this channel, you'll know that this is not a busy week in AI. So I imagine you do what any reasonable leader would do. You roll out the tools you've learned about in our videos. You measure how many people are using Copilot. You track adoption rates. You report the numbers going up. And you feel like you're doing the right thing. You're entering the world of AI, except the data says you're not. The study I mentioned, the one with 1,500 workers, found something that should reshape how every organization thinks about AI deployment. Productivity increases when you move from one AI tool to 2. It increases again slightly when you move from 2 to 3. But from 3 onwards, productivity starts to decline. There's a cognitive ceiling, and most organizations blew past it months ago. The researchers found that workers managing multiple AI tools experienced 19% greater information overload and 12% more mental fatigue. Not because the tools were bad, but because the human brain wasn't designed to supervise 4 different AI systems simultaneously while also doing the actual work. And the distribution isn't even. Marketing teams reported a 25% brain fry rate. HR and operations were close behind. The people most aggressively adopting AI were the ones getting hit the hardest. But the fatigue is only half the problem. The other half is what happens to your skills when the AI starts doing the thinking for you. And this is what we call the delegation trap. So let's go back then to that Anthropic coding study, because there's a lot of detail in that data that I think a lot of people have actually skipped over. The researchers didn't just find that AI users scored lower overall. They found 3 distinct points of failure. The first group were the full delegators. That's the developers who handed everything to AI and just accepted whatever came back. They finished fastest. They also scored lowest, often below 40% on the follow-up tests. The second group started coding independently, but gradually offloaded more and more work to the AI as the task got harder. Classic cognitive offloading. The moment it gets uncomfortable, you reach for the easy button. And the third group used AI purely as a debugging crutch. They'd write something, hit a wall, and instead of working through the problem, they'd paste it into Claude or Copilot and accept the fix without understanding it. As 3 different behaviors and the same outcome. They couldn't actually explain what they'd built. Now then, Here's where it gets a little bit uncomfortable for anyone who's running an engineering organisation or an engineering team. Junior developer employment has fallen nearly 20% since late 2022, right when AI coding tools went mainstream. So we're simultaneously making our existing developers less skilled, but we're also hiring fewer new ones to replace the skills we're losing. Anthropic's own AI Fluency Index added another layer. When AI produces artifacts, apps, documents, interactive tools, anything that looks polished and finished, users are 3% points less likely to question its reasoning and 5% points less likely to notice some missing context. So have a think about what that means. The better the AI gets at presentation, the worse we get at scrutiny. In other words, the prettier the output, the less we're likely to check it. Classic. There's a term for this in aviation and nuclear safety research. They call it the automation conundrum. The more reliable the automated system becomes, the less capable the human operator is of intervening when it fails, because it fails so rarely that you stop expecting it to fail. And when it does, you've lost the muscle memory to catch it. The humans become what one researcher called a liability sponge, absorbing the consequences of system failures they no longer have the cognitive bandwidth to prevent. And this isn't hypothetical. Engineers are getting a lot more done. They're becoming more full stack. But some worry that this could mean losing deeper technical competence or becoming less able to efficiently supervise, for instance, Claude's outputs. So if that's the diagnosis, cognitive overload at the top, skill erosion at the bottom, and a huge failure rate for enterprise AI products caught in the middle, what is the actual fix? Well, here is where I'm going to say something that might sound counterintuitive. The fix for failing AI isn't less AI, and it isn't better AI, it's better systems around the AI. The reason so many enterprise AI projects fail to reach production isn't that the models are bad, it's that organizations are bolting AI tools onto workflows that were never really designed for them. It's what researchers call the tool-first trap. You buy the shiny thing, you measure adoption, and you never ask whether the system underneath it can actually support it. Think of it like buying every kitchen gadget on Amazon, but you never renovate the kitchen. So you end up with 15 appliances and you've got no counter space to run them, and you still can't cook. The answer isn't a new kitchen appliance, it's a better kitchen. So here are the 4 principles that the most effective engineering organizations are using instead. The first principle is the 3-tool cap. The data is unambiguous. Productivity peaks at 3 simultaneous AI tools per role. Beyond that, you're simply adding cognitive load faster than capability. The fix is to order your AI stack. Each role identify the 3 tools that deliver 80% of the value. Standardize on those and kill the rest. Stop measuring AI adoption. You want to start measuring how effective your tool stack is at the outcome. And those 2 things are not the same thing. The second principle is you want to reward asking why. This Anthropic study found a clear dividing line between developers who retrained their skills and those who didn't. The high performers, the ones scoring 65% and above on mastery tests, they all shared one behavior: cognitive engagement. They asked follow-up questions after generating code, they requested explanations, they weren't just simply implementing, they used AI as a teacher, not a replacement. And that is what we mean by using AI to make everybody better. The practical translation there for CTOs is that you want to build a culture where asking, how does this work, is valued more than simply asking, write this for me. You want to celebrate the person who spots an AI hallucination, not the person who ships it the fastest. And you want to implement AI tools to try and find the hallucinations as well. Some of the sharpest engineering teams are now requiring manual coding periods before granting full AI access. The same way pilots still practice manual landings even though autopilot exists. Because when the system fails, and it does occasionally, you need people who can actually fly the plane. Remember my point in my video on Perplexity Computer and the rise of recursive autonomous tools like OpenClaw. The job is changing from prompt engineer, agent engineer, and model orchestrator to that of auditor. If your code base is undocumented, your data layer is fragmented, and your inference infrastructure is held together with duct tape, it really doesn't matter how good the model is. You'll get garbage in, garbage out at scale. Now, of course, at Gcore, we can help you there and get you up and running with a properly compliant enterprise AI solution that meets company inference needs. And instead of adding another tool your team has to babysit, you get a managed system that handles GPU scheduling, request routing, and cache management automatically. That's one platform that does inference well, rather than 5 tools that each require oversight. Because the whole point of systems first thinking is that the complexity should live in the infrastructure, not in your team's heads. Your engineers should be thinking about the problem they're solving, not about which of their 7 tools to route it through. Now, there's a concept in AI design we're going to talk about called slow AI. Sounds like a contradiction, but the idea is simple. The time you save with AI should not be immediately filled with more tasks. You have to create space for recovery, reflection, and the kind of productive struggle that builds actual mastery. The Anthropic Fluency Index found that the most proficient AI users, the ones who genuinely develop what the researchers call co-intelligence, they treat AI as a thought partner, not as a task machine. Their conversations are longer, they ask more questions, they push back on the AI's reasoning, and they outperform the speed-first users on every meaningful metric. The companies that I think will win the next 5 years aren't the ones with the highest AI adoption rate. They're the ones where people genuinely understand what the AI is doing and how they can challenge it when it's wrong. So let's bring this back then to where we started. 52 developers, 2 groups. The AI assisted group finished 2 minutes faster. They scored 17% lower on comprehension, and when asked to debug the code they'd just written, many of them couldn't do it. That is not a technology problem, and it's not an organizational design problem. The real fix isn't about choosing the right model or the right plugin or the right agent framework. It's about building a system where the AI makes your people smarter, not just faster. So in short then, we want 3 tools, not 13, or a system. You want to ask why, not just what. You want to fix the infrastructure, and you want to build a learning culture. That's not a slower path, it's the only path that gets you where you actually want to go. If you want to see a full systems first approach to AI infrastructure, then do check out some of Gcore's products. I'll put some links to them in the description. This week, we surpassed that ultimate milestone. We got over 1,000 subscribers. So I want to thank you all so much for getting us past that milestone. It means that we can make even better content for you and we can keep putting out videos. So don't forget to subscribe if you are interested in these videos, and leave me a comment as well. I try to read every single comment with your thoughts. All right, I'll see you next week in the next video.